Welcome to my World History Notes, where I read from the book I wrote to teach homeschoolers world history. A Bible believer looks at world history. You can get the book on lulu.com, amazon.com, or at the Bible Baptist bookstore, or just follow me here. And if you do follow me here, I'd appreciate it if you have a mind to subscribe to my channel. So I enjoy doing this. It's a lot of fun. And I hope you'll study world history. You won't agree with my conclusions, probably. I tell you in the title where I'm coming from, but you should at least know about the things that I'm discussing, at least have an opinion of your own. So let's begin where we left off. Now, by 1680, France, under Louis XIV, was attempting to secure hegemony. That's the dominance of one state over others, over the continent of Europe. Its population of 19 million was three times that of England or Spain, and its army, organized under Minister of War Louvois, was the strongest in Europe. The French navy was the most powerful in the Mediterranean Sea. France's economy was not dependent upon foreign colonies like the Dutch, also known as the Netherlands, and the English. This time, the Protestant princes of Germany allied themselves with William of Orange of Holland against Louis, as his supporters were also attempting to overthrow James II of England. Louis revoked the Edict of Nantes, promising tolerance to Protestants, so it was easy to create a Protestant alliance against him called the League of Augsburg. A revolution in England brought William of Orange to the throne there. The ensuing war is called the War of the Grand Alliance, or the War of the League of Augsburg, and lasted from 1688 to 1697, with fighting mostly in the Netherlands. It was ended by the Treaty of Ryswick, in which the combatants agreed to return almost all of their gains back to the original owners. Before we move to England, let's look at a very brief history of the English Parliament. It had its origins in Anglo-Saxon times as a council advising the kings. William the Conqueror ruled as an absolute monarch, but depended upon a council of nobles and clergy for advice. The royal council slowly developed into a parliament, with members being voted in by citizens who owned land. By the reign of Edward III in the 1300s, that's the 14th century, the parliament had formed two houses, one for the upper nobility and higher clergy, and one for knights and lower knights and freemen of a borough or small political division. These freemen were called burgesses. There was a constant tension between parliament and the king over time, and many civil wars resulted from this tension. Today, the parliament is the supreme legislative institution of the United Kingdom, thereby asserting the rights of elected government over the authority of royalty. James I of England, known as also as James VI of Scotland, ruled from 1603 to 1625, overseeing history's greatest book, Peace with Spain and the Unification of Britain. He did participate in 30 Years' War on a small scale with disastrous results, including renewed hostilities with Spain. His son, Charles I, reigned from 1625 to 1649. He sent an expedition to fight for French Huguenots, that's Protestants, besieged by Cardinal Richelieu, which led to an Anglo-French war between 1626 and 1630. In 1628, Parliament issued the Petition of Right, asserting grievances such as protest against royal taxation without parliamentary assent, the imposition of martial law in times of peace, and the mandatory billeting of troops in private homes. After peace was made with France and Spain in 1630, there was a rebellion in Scotland over the imposition of the Anglican liturgy into Scottish Presbyterian services called the First Bishops' War, ended by the pacification of Dunse, in which Charles compromised on the issues. In 1640, there was a second uprising in Scotland called the Second Bishops' War, during which Charles called a short parliament to vote funds. When the Commons refused to vote funds for the war, he dissolved Parliament. Scottish troops in northern England and a lack of funds made him agree to the Triennial Act, which permitted Parliament to assemble every 3 years without royal initiative. In 1641, there was a slaughter in Ireland, we have discussed, and the Irish War, which was the prelude to the Great Rebellion due to Charles' desperate need of money to pursue the war. Puritan dissidents in Parliament, in an attempt to resist the formation of a standing army, compiled a list of grievances called the Grand Remonstrance. Charles' bad handling of this resulted in Parliament raising an army to oppose the army that Charles was raising. The First Civil War raged between 1642 and 1646, with Commander Oliver Cromwell rising to prominence and Charles being defeated and surrendering to a Scottish force rather than the parliamentary one. During a brief interlude between 1646 and 1648, Charles obtained support of the Scots by promising to support Presbyterianism, and then war broke out again in what is known as the Second Civil War. This ended with Cromwell's parliamentary forces being victorious over the king and with Charles being beheaded on January 30th, 1649. The struggle in Ireland continued through 1650. Cromwell's military reforms created the new model army, consisting of professional soldiers led by veteran generals and known for their Puritan religious zeal. So we're going to pick it up with the restoration of the monarchy. Next time, move on to the Middle East, talk about Russia and China and Japan. And I thank you for listening. I hope you'll study world history and come to your own conclusions. Thank you.